So every time I make a new project, I've been having to copy and paste my files and folders from a previous project into my new project folder. It feels really inefficient, and I've always felt like there should be a better way. Well, I finally found that better way. So now, if I type one command into the command line, I will automatically generate all the files and folders and install the npm packages that I need for my Gulp and Sass workflow. This is all possible through a tool called Yeoman, which lets you generate files and folders. You can create your own custom generator like I did, or you can look through Yeoman's generators list and install a generator that other people have made. So here's how my generator works and how you can get it up and running on your own computer if you want to use it. Let's go into VS Code into a new blank temp folder. So we'll pretend that we want to make a new project in this folder. So in the command line, the first thing you want to do is you do need to install a couple things globally before you can kind of get the generator working. So the first thing you want to do is install Yeoman itself. So npm install -g yo, and that's Yeoman. And then once you have Yeoman installed, you do need to install my generator package globally as well. So we can do that with npm install -g, and the package is called generator -gulp sass boilerplate, and we'll install that. Okay, so once my generator is installed, now from any location on the computer, you can go into the command line and type in yo for Yeoman and type in the name of the generator, which in my case is gulp sass boilerplate. Now that the generator is done being installed, we can see that it created a whole bunch of files, and these are the files that I use in my boilerplate. So we got my index.html, we got the gulp file, which is very important. We have the package JSON with all the packages that we need. And we have the app folder, which contains my JavaScript and then my Sass files. The cool part about this is that, I don't have to spend time either writing from scratch or copying and pasting all my files from previous projects, but it just takes, maybe several seconds to generate all these files and install the npm packages. So I'm pretty excited about this because it's going to be a huge time saver in my workflow at least. And I'm planning on using this in my tutorial videos moving forward. So you are more than welcome to use this generator yourself. I do have it linked down below in the description, and you can install it and let me know what you think. If you are using it and you run into any issues or bugs, you can file an issue on the GitHub repo, which I'll also link down below. Now, if you're curious how all this works under the hood, I'm going to walk you through how the generator works and just kind of show you how I built it in case you want to make your own generator yourself. So let's go back to VS Code, and I have opened my actual generator project. At the core of it all, what the generator is, it is basically a node module that I've published as an npm package so that, it can be available publicly for other people to download and install. So when you make your own generator, what you want to do is create a folder like I've done here, and it does need to be called specifically a name that starts with generator dash and then whatever your generator name is going to be. So mine is generator -gulp sass boilerplate. And this is because when we're using Yeoman, we do have to match that specific structure. So let's take a look in our project files. So we have our package.json file, and we can see that it just has a name of the package, the version number that I'm on right now, description, and it has one dependency, the Yeoman generator package, which we will be using in a little bit. And it has keywords, Yeoman generator, and this is if you want to have your generator be displayed on the Yeoman website. It just kind of automatically pulls packages that use this keyword. And then I have a repository. This is linked to a GitHub repository. So aside from the naming that we have to follow, there are a couple other things that we need to kind of align with the Yeoman structure in order for everything to work. So one is that we need to have a folder called generators with a subfolder app. That is where we're going to keep all the actual code that is running the generator. So we have this templates folder, and then we have an index.js file. So let's take a look at the templates folder. So how this works is when I'm generating the files for my workflow, the generator is pulling all those files from this templates folder. And we can see here that this basically matches what we just generated in that temp folder. It has the app subfolder with JavaScript and Sass files. It has, a bunch of Git related files. It has my gulp file, index.html, and so on. And when you're working with the templates, you can kind of do one of two things. So one, you can have the actual files and folders here that you want to use. The other option you have, and it's what I actually did, is you can use what's called a Git Sub Module, and this will link your templates folder to another GitHub repo. So this is a really cool feature of Git where you can load another Git repository as a subfolder in your main Git repository. And let me show you how this looks. So if I go to my actual generator GitHub repo, which is this generator gulp.s boilerplate, you can see it's matching the file structure that we just saw in VS Code. So if we go to the generator's app folder, you can see that there is this templates folder. And if we click on that, it loads a different repo, gulp.s boilerplate. And I created this repository specifically to be the source files for the templates folder in my generator. And the reason I did this is because I wanted to be able to track the changes that I have in my boilerplate files. So if I do make changes to it down the line, I can sort of keep track of all that stuff in GitHub. Now, if you want to create a Git Sub Module, the first thing you have to do is, make sure you have a Git repository initialized in your generator, which I do have already. And then you want to navigate to the generators app folder. So in the terminal, say cd generators app. Then we want to run the command to create the submodule linked to that Git repo. So what you can do is run git sub module add, and then you have to copy the URL for the repository that you want to load. So one thing you can see here is that this repository is linked to a specific commit. So when you're copying it, you just want to make sure you copy the main URL, not with a commit message, or not with a commit hash. So then git submodule add, and then we have the URL of the repo. And then after that, you want to usually write templates because then you can make sure that the other repository gets loaded in this templates folder. I already have a templates folder, so I'm not going to actually run this command, but this is what you would have to do. So like I said earlier, this templates folder, it's actually linked to a specific commit in the submodule's original Git repo. You can see this here. It says templates at, and then there's this hash here, and that links to the most recent commit in this other gulp.s boilerplate GitHub repo. And that's just kind of how it works. So you do need to keep in mind that if you ever do update the original GitHub repo that the templates is linked to, you're going to have to update that link in your generator repository because it won't do that automatically. And the way you can do that is if you go back to your command line in your gulp.s boilerplate, you just want to go back to the root directory of that. So back to the generator gulp.s boilerplate directory. And what you can do is run git sub module for each git pull. And when you run that, what will happen is it'll pull the most recent commit from the templates GitHub repository. And that comes from this git modules file, which gets created when you create the submodule. So it's telling you the path in your generator project is generators app templates. And that templates folder is linked to the URL from that other Git repository. So it is an additional level of, complexity when you're working with these generators. So again, you don't have to do what I did with the submodule thing. You can just put your files and folders directly in this templates folder and it'll work pretty much the same. Now that we have the template set up for the generator, let's look at our index.js file. And this is where basically all the magic of the generator happens. So I do want to add a little disclaimer here that I'm not an expert in JavaScript. I wrote this code using a lot of help that I found online, of course. And let me just show you some of the sources that were really helpful for me. So the first one is there's another gulp generator out there with Yeoman, written by this developer, Fernando Moreda. And he really helped me in terms of just, showing me the templates thing with a submodule and also seeing how he structured his index.js file. I did do a few different things than him, but it was really helpful just to see what the main stuff you have to do is. Another place I found helpful was the actual Yeoman website itself. They have pretty good documentation, writing your own Yeoman generator, so they will help you get started. And they even have a generator that will generate all the files you need to make your own generator. So that's a lot of different levels right there. And I also found a blog post that was really helpful on scotch.io about how to create your own custom generator. So I'll link to all those down in the description in case you want to make your own. So going back to our generator files, let's open up our terminal again. The first thing you want to do when you're creating your own generator is you actually need to install a package, the Yeoman generator package. So npm install Yeoman generator. And this will match the dependency that we saw earlier in the package.json file. Or sorry, this thing up here. So you don't have to install this globally. You can just install it in this project because, this project is to make the Yeoman generator. So once you install that, then we're going to go back into our index.js file, and we're going to import the Yeoman generator as a module here. And we're going to export it so that we can run the generator stuff from the command line. So in our generator code, we're creating a new generator class, and in that class, we have a bunch of different methods. So the first method is this welcome method. And what this does is it's pretty simple. It's just writing a message to your terminal when you run the generator saying welcome to the gulp and sass generator. And then the main meat of all this is in this writing method. So it's doing a lot of the same thing. So it's copying files from the template path, which as we said before is the templates folder. And then it's copying them to the destination path. And that's just going to be the root directory of whatever project you're running this generator from. So it's copying the index.html file from the templates, and then it's pasting it again named index.html in your destination. And you can see we're doing the same thing for a bunch of other files, for the gulp file, gitignore, package.json, package.lock.json, and then the entire app subfolder with all of our JavaScript and Sass files. Now you might have noticed something a little bit weird. So most of these, the template path file name and the destination file name are exactly the same. But in gitignore, we have an underscore gitignore from the template path, but it is getting saved as a .gitignore file as it usually should be. And I had to do this because there's this very weird bug in NPM where when you publish an NPM package, if you have a .gitignore file, for some reason it just gets deleted, it just disappears. So I was getting all these errors when I was trying to run the actual generator after getting published, and it couldn't find the .gitignore file. That's because it didn't actually exist. So I did some Googling. Apparently this has been a very long-running issue with NPM. They haven't fixed it yet. I'm sure there's a lot of other things going on that, for some reason they need to do that. But my workaround was, you can see I've created another file, gitignore, and it has an underscore instead of a dot at the beginning. So just a little bug to keep in mind in case you run into the same issue that I did, because that was a little time consuming to figure out. So once we've copied over all the files in the writing method, we have an end method. And this is kind of like the welcome method. It's displaying a bunch of text on the terminal. So let me word wrap that. So it has a finish generating message, yada, yada, and then some instructions about, if you want to run gulp, you need to make sure you have the gulp CLI installed. And there's a link to a blog post that I wrote about that if, you want more context about that. So that's really all the code for the generator. So once your code is all written, the next step you want to do is to test your generator files locally. So you don't actually need to publish your package to npm in order to test it, thankfully. What you have to do is go into your terminal, and you can, from your generator project root, type in npm link. And what this does is it will create a link and install whatever files are in this generator directory, and it'll install it on your computer as a global npm package, meaning that it can be accessible from any directory on your computer. So if you type in npm link, it will literally install it in the same place that all your other npm global packages are installed. So this is really helpful because then you can, test a generator yourself before actually publishing things to npm. So once you've, tested your code, fixed some bugs, and everything's ready, and you want to publish your package on npm, the first thing you have to do is you need to make sure you have an account with npm. If you don't have it, you can go in your browser to the npm website, and that is at npmjs.com. If we go to the homepage here, you click this sign up for free button, you'll get redirected to the sign up form. And you sign up with a username that you want to use, email address, and password. And one really important thing to keep in mind is that the email address is actually going to be public knowledge. So anyone who installs your npm package, they can actually look and see the email that you used to sign up with npm. So you can actually do this right now. So if we test npm and type in info, and then whatever package name we want to get info from, we'll do this one since I did publish it. You can see that it's listing the coder and then npm admin at coder-coder.com. And this is something that I recommend you do. I recommend that you create a new email separate from everything else in order to register on NPM. Just because, you don't want to get spam sent to your personal email. But I have seen a lot of people use their personal email here, and it's really up to you, whatever you feel comfortable with. But I did want to mention that in case you don't want to have your personal email out in public on the internet. So once you've signed up and you've registered as a user on NPM, if you want to publish your package, go back to your command line, make sure you're in your generator project root, and type in npm login. And this is going to prompt you to log in on the command line with your username and stuff. So the coder, and password. I will have to open up a new window for that no one else can see. All right, so paste the password in, and then type in the email. And then I do have 2FA in this. So now I'm logged in and I can publish the package if I want. So npm publish. I'm not going to hit it because I haven't made any changes, so it won't really do anything. But once you hit this and everything works out okay, you should get a success message. And then if you go to the website and you sign into npm, you should be able to see your package here. And one other thing to keep in mind is that before you do npm publish, you want to make sure that you've committed and pushed all the changes that you've made into your GitHub repo if you have one for your package. So later on down the line, after you've published your generator, you probably are going to make some kind of code changes to it at some point, right? So let me show you how this works. I'm going to make a small little change in my code here. So in the index.js file, I'm just going to just have one exclamation point. And then I'm going to go into my GitHub repo and I will commit this change. So removed exclamation points. And you probably can't see that because it's hidden. I'm very sorry. So we're going to commit that and then push it to our main branch. Okay. Now going back into our files, when we make a change to our package, we want to keep track of it with a version number change. So if we look in our package.json file, right now the generator is at version 1.0.6. So I just made a very small change. I'm going to consider that a patch change, and patch numbers are the rightmost digit. So the next version number should be 1.0.7. So I can increment the version number by typing in npm version and then the new version number, so 1.0.7. So now you can see package.json has been updated, and it's been updated here in npm with the new version number. So now, once the version number is changed, oops, not up there, back in the terminal, you can type in npm publish, and this will publish this new version. Okay, so now generator gulp size boilerplate is at 1.0.7. So we should be able to see this on the website when we load this. And yeah, so 1.0.7 published a few seconds ago. So when you do update your package, if you are running a project that is using a package, you may want to update it. So you can do that by typing npm update generator gulp sas boilerplate. And it should update. So now we can check what version this is. So npm list generator gulp sas boilerplate. That's actually global, so I'm not sure if I updated the global one. We'll see what happens. Yeah, 1.0.6. So I have to go npm update generator gulp sas boilerplate -g for the global package. Okay, so now it is updating. Okay, and you can see it is now version 1.0.7. So let's kind of start from scratch here, just to make sure everything works. I'm going to delete everything in this folder. Delete that folder, that file too. Okay, so let us try it again. So yo to run the generator, gulp sas boilerplate So it's installing everything. And if we check back to that change that we made, that we pushed up, it only has one exclamation point at the end of the welcome to the Gulp and Sass generator message. So it looks like everything is getting copied and pasted correctly. It's installing the npm packages. Okay, and now let's test it out. So we type gulp into the command line. It is running the gulp tasks, which is great, and it has loaded the local website. So that's pretty much it for how to make your own Yeoman generator. I hope you found this helpful. I know this topic might be a little bit niche, but I found it to be really helpful for my own workflow, so I figured you all might be interested in it as well. So you can find the source code for my generator on my GitHub, which is again linked down below. So that's pretty much it for this one. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.